Welcome to Danbury Democrats. My name is John Gogliettino. I'm your host. This evening we're going to be interviewing some members here that are of the City Council or want to be members of the City Council. We got two people running at large. Bob Taborsak and Wilson Hernandez are running at large, immediately the first two chairs. And then we have another veteran, Ben Chianese from the 6th Ward. Welcome to the show, fellas.
Well, thank you.
Now, there's people that are coming and going all the time, so that, just tell us a little bit about yourself for the new people that have come in. It might be only 1,000 new people, but there's always, things are fluid and they may not know us. So as much as you like about your family and your background and up to this point.
Okay, cut me off if I'm going too long. Okay.
Yeah, this is the personal stuff, not
okay.
Your city council stuff.
All right. Moved up here from Brooklyn as a sophomore at Danbury High School. Graduated there. Went to UConn and graduated. Got a few degrees there, and taught at Danbury High School for 40 years. I was also a track and cross country coach, either assistant or the head coach for most of those 40 years. Got interested in politics. I taught history and government, but I never had any time when I was doing the coaching and teaching to even try to do anything about it. So when I retired,
yeah.
That was it, okay? And
right.
So I was on the board of Ed for 10 years. I ran once for council and lost, and the last time I ran, and I just squeezed in, okay? Right. And I like what I'm doing, so I'm gonna try it again.
Right, very good. Wilson, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're running for a seat at large, and go ahead. Tell us about how long you've been in Danbury, and
I moved to Danbury in the year 2000. I was living in Long Island for 15 years before I moved to Danbury. I moved in because I bought a business here in Danbury. 3 years after I settled here in Danbury, I became the president of the Ecuadorian Civic Center. I have been serving the Ecuadorian Civic Center and the Ecuadorian community for 19 years now. I was elected president 2 times. I was vice president. I was the treasurer of the organization. Besides that, I own a business in Danbury. This business has been
we have the Comcast rules, but you own a restaurant.
Yes, I own a restaurant. I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant, and this is what keeps me here in Danbury. Danbury, it's my city. It's the place where I have been working and acting as a business person for all this time. Besides that, I am a member of the board of directors of ARC, the Association of Religious Community, for the last 15 years. I'm a person who likes being involved in the community. I think as a citizen, it's my duty to be part of the discussions, social discussions, political discussions that we have, because it is our responsibility to participate in these processes. So this is an election year, and I decided to ask the party to give me the opportunity of running for common council.
Very good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Now, Ben, you've been on, I'm only hazard a guess, and I know it's been a number of years.
I've been involved in city government since 1995.
Wow.
But originally I did come from New York. I came from the Bronx when I was 8 years old. And we moved to the west side of Danbury. And I've been pretty much there my entire life on the west side of Danbury. I grew up at a time when there was nothing on the west side to a growing population that's coming to that side of town. I was schooled locally. I went to Western Connecticut State University, got my degree in accounting, got my CPA license, and I've been practicing for the last 30 years. Working for local CPA firms in the greater Danbury area. Now I just took a little change in life, and now I'm a CFO at one of the best nursing homes in the city of Danbury, probably the state of Connecticut. We're a 5-star facility.
Right.
And I always believe about giving back to the community where I grew up in. My father was on the city council in the 6th Ward, So I wouldn't say follow in his footsteps, but I'm serving 7 terms in the 6th Ward. And I look forward to continue the serving because there's still things that still need to be accomplished to make our side of the city one of the best sides of the city to live in.
Okay. What is the main reason that you like to continue? Is it issues like the roads? Is it education? Is a combination of those things?
Yeah, I see the Common Council, a councilman at large being a little different than a district council. I think we have to look at the overall big picture for the whole city. So I like to think of myself as being very interested in the overall quality of life issues in Danbury. And education being most important because I certainly, being on the board for 10 years, being a teacher before that, I saw both sides of the story, you might say. Also, I think my family has been involved in politics. My wife and son were state legislative. So
It's in the blood.
well, it's in the blood, but we at home,
Yeah.
we paid attention to what was going on in the news. Not all families do. So education, then things like the museum, Terry Wild Park, the overall things that add maybe going beyond the issues that we all have to deal with in all districts. Like everybody has something to say about the roads and has a need for the roads. And one of the things you find out on the Common Council is that probably over 90% of the stuff there's agreement because there are things that just both parties have to do and just meet the local needs of the people. So I look at the Common Council being, okay, we will deal with some of the other things and maybe specialize them.
You're the board of directors of the city. It's like the city
Yeah,
corporation.
we're looking at it from a different perspective, I think.
That is
Yeah.
true, Bob.
Okay? All right, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
We do find that on the council, we do agree with about 99% of things, because we do work together. Like Bob said, is that at the end of the day, we live here. We drive on the same roads you drive on. We go to the same schools your children are going to now. We've been there. So we do need to have the best that we can possibly afford. So yeah, the roads are a problem. We know that. And a lot of times is people don't realize it's the water table from underneath starting to rise up, and we're getting the cracks in our roads. Like the west side, the west side's a swamp. There's no ways about it. It's a swamp, so the water table is very high. So those roads do take a beating.
You're talking about Mill Plain
Mill Plain
Road,
Road,
Kenosha Avenue.
Kenosha Avenue,
Yeah.
Bacchus Avenue,
Yeah.
Sawmill, Spruce Mountain, all those roads.
But there's heavy use on the
They're
west
heavy
side
use on
from.
them, but the road can no longer take it, given that extra use. There's a lot of stuff that we need to do, but like anything else, we can't do it all at once. We do have a plan in place to which we are starting to pave the road the best we can, given what we have. Can they all be done at once? No. But there is a plan in place to pave roads in the city of Danbury. We start paving them now, but they do one road, then they do the next, and the next, and the next. They don't do them all at once. So people just need to be a little patient, but hopefully by winter, some of the major roads like Kenosha will be paved.
But
That's the goal.
there are some though that said it slowed down a little bit until this year.
Well,
that-
I don't know if the paving schedules?
Yeah, the paving
Well,
schedule.
we've been pretty aggressive for the last year. We allocated about a couple months, about another $2-3 million for paving, just paving. And we're doing it again, this budget, paving. Paving we heard it, we understand it, we get it. But again, we are going to allocate as much resources as we can to get these roads paved.
And the bridges, which has been going on for
Well,
a
bridge
while.
work, again, bridges is a state function as well. We get reimbursed from the state for the bridges. But again, you got to have the plan in place, and the state has to fund it. So it may take 2-3 years to get
More,
the funding for
yeah.
a bridge.
Right.
And when they do get the funding for a bridge, they close the road, and of course, it's a lot more traffic.
And then
So-
you get the complaint, the road's closed. When is it going to start?
Well, again,
it's
they're working
going
on
to take a year,
they're going to work on Triangle Street. They
Yeah.
just worked on Crosby Street. There's a lot of bridges. again, they're trying to get done. They just can't do it all at once.
Wilson, are there any burning issues that you see? Like we were talking about the roads, your business is downtown. Do you have some downtown issues that you'd like to address if you should get into the, I should say when you get into the city council?
Well, besides all these issues that everybody knows that need to be fixed, attended, as an immigrant, I am feeling that the new citizens in Danbury need some representation. Obviously, as a business person, I would like to see something done regarding parking on Main Street. Roads is a very important issue, but those of us who are in business in downtown have some kind of problems with parking. And we do have two big parking garages, but
You feel you need another one?
either another one or to give some kind of better way of paying for this, the use of these parking garages, so we as business people can pass these benefits to our customers. It's not only having this space for parking, it's also knowing that we are going to have the opportunity of getting some kind of discounts for the businesses so we can pass this to our customers. People come to Main Street, everybody wants to have a parking spot right in front of the businesses, no matter what business we are talking about. And that's impossible, and we as citizens need to understand that. But when you are in business, you want the city to understand that, okay, let's say over the weekend, what can we do with these two big parking garages that we have? Can we have like a 50% discount from, let's say, 8 p.m. on Friday night to 3 a.m. on Sunday?
So your customers have an issue with the charge at the garage?
Correct. And if they do have an issue with that, we suffer the effects of that, the businesses. And we are all concerned about bringing back businesses to Main Street. But I think everybody has the same problem with this, right? And I'm guessing
that... And you think that's part of it, that these garages are charging more than the potential customers of the downtown restaurants, like that's what you have. But
everybody wants free parking. That's not possible. I understand that. We need to bring some revenues to the city. When I talk to customers when they complain about this, I say, if you go to Manhattan, if you go to Queens, to the Bronx, how much you have to pay for this? Yeah, but we are not in Manhattan, we are not in the Bronx, we are in Danbury. But be a good citizen, you know, try to do something that's also of a great benefit for the city. Because with the money that we pay, the city can offer our students a better education. And obviously education is something very important as an immigrant, even though I don't have my children here, my two boys are growing up men, but I have my granddaughters and my grandson, not here. But what if they move in Danbury? I want them to have the greatest opportunity of getting a great education.
The best education. Yeah.
Correct.
But parking has been an issue for downtown. I mean, currently in the city council, we tried to do more incentives, fix up the sidewalks. We just got some money that we're going to fix the sidewalks for downtown as well. But parking seems always to been the drawback on it. But the parking is actually the control of the parking authority. It's not really in the council's purview for those types of changes.
You could study.
We can make a study, we can make a recommendation, but it's ultimately the authority's ultimate decision. However, currently, right now, as I currently sit on the ad hoc, that every 10 years, by state law, we have to open up what they call our books, to call the city charter. The city charter is how we govern our city, from the mayor down to every position in our city.
It's the Danbury Constitution.
It's the Danbury Constitution. Every 10 years, we have to go through this procedure. It's a long procedure. It's about a year long before it actually hits to the voters. But there's public hearings, there's going to be committee meetings, and the public's insight is very, very important to how we govern for the next 10 years. Like Wilson, you had to think about parking. That could be a charter thing.
A revision.
Revision change. That this is how we're going to govern our parking. So we would have it in there.
All the discussions are going to happen
Within the next year.
within the next year.
Correct. The last time we had it, the book was 10 years ago. We changed the name of the council from the Common Council to the City Council.
I still say common council from
And
time
it's
to time, but
still-
it's the city council.
It's hard to
It has been.
say sometimes. We
Yeah.
changed
When
our
you-
bonding requirements
Yeah.
from 500,000 to 3 million without going to the voters. We got rid of the city legislature, the city clerk, to a legislative aide. The last time we had the 4-year, to have our terms go 4 years instead of 2, that got voted down. But that could come back this time around. I think that's going to be one of the discussions, to have a 4-year term instead of a 2-year term.
Term limits.
Term limits, it's possible, but again, all that is on the table to do. Town clerk, whether it be elected or appointed. There's a lot of discussions that go into the charter. There is no holds barred.
Right.
We can come up with a lot of things that's going to govern.
And that's starting when?
It's we're meeting in 2 weeks, where we're going to have our first
So
ad hoc.
it's a few weeks down the road.
It's
but
happening.
It'll probably be happening when the show airs, or
Right.
thereabouts.
It will not make the November ballot.
Right.
But it should hit the next ballot. It
Okay.
could be there. But it's going to be a lot of information. We do recommend people go online to the city website to read the current charter and see what's there. And your recommendation is always welcome. Again, it's your city, and how it's governed should be up to the people.
Very good.
Can I ask you a question? How the city is going to bring all this information to the citizens of Danbury so they know that these discussions are going
Well,
to
again,
take place?
the meetings will probably be taped.
And they've got to be published.
They gotta be published,
It's got to be in the newspaper. Everything the city does that's legal, like they're going to, proposing to revise the charter, that has got to be published in the newspaper. So at some point in time, there will be extensive mailings and publish.
There'll be Channel
newspaper.
24 is the government station.
Right.
So those meetings will probably be aired, some live, maybe some taped, but they'll be there. There will be, like John said, it'll be required public hearings, not just
Right.
one, but several. And it's word of mouth to get people down. You can write letters to these as well to get your ideas so they can start discussing them.
Bob, yeah.
One of the things, I can remember the Danbury News Times years back, and a lot of this information that you're mentioning was always published now, and it's not always published. There are meetings that are not mentioned. No, honest to God, I read it every day. I'm a
Well, yeah,
subscriber.
you're looking at a person that actually
so-
complained and brought it up to the Freedom of Information Commission. So maybe we don't have as many people that want to complain about when they don't publish
So what I'm
hearings.
saying, I think the big things are the public hearings. I think are very important.
Yes.
But we got to get the information out to the people to attend the public hearings. So we had one last week that was, to me, very disappointing. Do you remember how many? There was one with
Nobody.
No one. The first
No
part,
one.
there were a 2-part hearing, and
And that was a published.
yeah, and no one
Meeting?
showed.
It was a
showed
public
up. Yeah.
hearing. Well, one thing about a city council and a town committee, a town, is with like the town of Bethel, the town votes at their meeting, so the public has more of an input. In the city of Danbury, it's the council
council's
that makes that.
You're the representatives of the
Yes,
people.
we make that decision for the public, which is why it's important that the public vote for someone who's going to best represent them and their ideas. So when we come to these meetings, we make the best choice that's going to not just help the city, but also helps them as well.
Yeah. But I think that's the big part. One of the big parts of what you mentioned, Wilson, is how do you get it? And get the people more involved. That's a big problem everywhere, to be honest.
Right. I'm sure it'll be
Yeah,
shows.
I'm not
There'll be a
saying
lot of.
that's good, In fact, it's disappointing, but that's reality. You know?
Because we really need the majority of us to get involved in these processes, especially when we are going to almost change, I guess, our constitution, because that's what we are talking about.
yeah.
So people should be concerned about what changes
Right.
are going to happen and what do I want there? What's good for all of us? And even though Ben is clear on this, Ben represents people, and you decide in their behalf. But let's think that more people need to be involved in this. We as citizens need to be there.
I think we can stipulate that Ben will do as much as he can to let the people know that the hearing is coming, and something like that. That's state law, or our charter, our constitution follows the state, and the state protects.
And the federal.
You have to. Well, this is state rights.
State rights.
And the state will protect the right of the people to hear about something like that going on. That they were revising the charter. I was having a conversation yesterday I want to bring out, and that is. What do you, the three of you, think about crime in this city? Because I've always had this thinking that things are getting much better, and I was told by this individual that things have been getting worse as of late. For crime, there's almost like a crime wave. I know that our police department is down from where it was years ago. That we should have at least 10 or 15 people more. On the police department. What do you think?
Well, first of all, from what I gather at the meetings, a number of police officers have been passed by the council, so the gap there has been closing. To me, it's reading the paper and all, and hearing the chief, at the meetings. Most of the crime stats have gone down, except for car thefts and stuff like that. But the thing is, what has happened? Things have shifted. Like the drug problem, the opiate problem is now a big thing. Marijuana is nothing compared to you read about this. So there's a shifting, but a lot of that does not come out as crimes per se. It's what if you apprehend the people, fine. But if you don't apprehend them, there are no stats, right? So I think on a number of things, yes, there are less certain types of crimes and all, but yet there are other areas where
they're the silent crimes.
They're the silent crimes and all. So, but the thing, I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons personally I like Danbury, having lived in Brooklyn and seeing how my neighborhood had changed and so forth over time and all, Danbury, it doesn't matter who the mayor is and all the years I lived here, since 1952, and most of the time it's been here, that pretty much it has been a safe place to live in. When you compare, I mean, I think that's something that draws people here, I'll be honest with you. And, we have the instances with the policeman shooting 2 individuals and all, and I hope that the investigation comes up with something positive. Personally, I believe in body cameras. But the thing is, you got to have the officers use the body cameras. I mean,
You got to have them on.
Across the nation, across the nation.
They-
You read about areas where they had body cameras and they weren't used. So why have them? But the thing is, I think, what's happened, every now and then you're going to have a spike like this.
We have about 4 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to stop now, okay? But like I say, it's a safe place.
You take a
overall.
minute.
Yes,
Give us your opinion.
I think that Denver is a very safe city to live in, but once in a while we hear that certain crimes are happening out there. Opioids use, I think it's a problem. We don't see it, but I think the Common Council, the mayor hears from reports from the police department, and I'm sure that there is enough information, data there that we can use to see where we have to pay more attention to. I think domestic violence, you mentioned these silent crimes. And I think domestic violence is something that we need to pay attention to. And that happens, unfortunately, in the immigrant community a lot. And we need to make sure that families are well informed. They can report something without risking something in their own lives.
Right.
Unfortunately, many families have people who are citizens, who are legal residents, but they may have somebody who is not legal yet, and they are afraid to report that. We need to make sure that they understand that the police department will work on this case without necessarily reporting this legal status of these people. That way, I think we'll get a better relationship between the police department and us.
I'm trying to get
the
Ben
community.
in.
Yes.
We're running out of time. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, since I think, as Bob said, alluded to, we are a very safe city. I mean, we do budget for 151 police officers, but the problem is filling the slots for training. We only get so many slots for the state course, like 1 or 2. So it's hard to get an officer trained on the streets, and once they come back at the year training to ride with another cop. So it is a time-consuming process. But we do listen on the city council. You know, we have the cops on the bikes. We have the noise patrol down there. So
I gotta interrupt you there and just say, now starting with Bob, could you give me give the people out there your telephone number and email, or if you have a website, your website?
Okay, my land phone is 203-748-0822, and my email is tab110@aol.com.
Anybody's got questions, go ahead.
My cell phone number is 203-241-7610, and my email address is wilsonh1958@hotmail.com.
And Ben.
it's 203-241-5223 is my cell phone, or my city email address, bchanese@danbury.ct.com.
Okay,
.gov, sorry.
they're waving goodbye to me, so that means it's time to go. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for tuning in. Danbury Dems. We'll talk to you next week.